G'day friends, welcome to today's very I was gonna say swick and quimple, quick and simple tutorial. We're gonna look at backgrounds today. I know, very underrated subject. I think we get really caught up about what we actually want to do in the foreground, that if you're anything like me, sometimes the background is literally the afterthought, but it can be something that really tricks me up, stumps me, ruins a whole spread or ruins a whole page if I've, I get so caught up in actually putting something down that I never think about the framing device, like how it's going to be on the page, the composition of it, like what should I do? And, once upon a time, way back when, I was actually looking at a beach towel image, a picture of a woman lying on a beach towel, and I thought it was the most simple thing. It was like these stripes that just kind of were behind the woman. So I kind of did this beach towel look, put these little corner, like rounded corner things on the frame, and to me this has just been, look, it's very specific. I'm not going to say this is something you want to use forever, but if you have something, an illustration just in the middle of your page or a random piece of illustration floating around somewhere, I think this is a really simple and effective way to give it a home on a page, to give it a background, something that is probably bound to work with most things. It's a very simple idea, and there's some cute little ways to customize it as well that I think are really fun and interesting. So if you just saw there, I had a rectangle, I have put some little rounded corners off in the rectangle and then given you stripes, just a stripe pattern all the way down. Now this is what I would do if I had a piece of ephemera that I wanted to put on a page and didn't have a background for it. I might just do this whole thing first and then put the ephemera down. Alternatively, I'll show you another option off to the right hand side of when I have the image on the page already and how I would work around it. So two little tricks for you today, but what we're going to do is fill in the alternating spaces with some watercolor, or you could use some paint or marker or like acrylics or whatever you want to use. I would color every single other one starting at the top, and hopefully you've got enough stripes for the bottom one to be colored in as well, and just alternate that between a colored line and a non-colored line. In the non-colored line we're going to put patterns in there, and this is where I think it can be really fun to tie in a theme to whatever illustration you're working with, whatever ephemera you've got or whatever illustration that's already on the page, which I'll show you on the right hand side too. I'm kind of going a little Christmassy today, a little antlerish, a little waif in the woods with antlers, stick antlers. But you can see on the right hand side, I've just freehanded this. I actually really like the look of the freehanded kind of lines and even the rectangle around it. I know I used a ruler to get that down, but I wanted to show you one that was properly rectangle, because when I freehand, sometimes it doesn't even look like a rectangle or a square. It's just some weird hybrid of messy lines. But off to the right hand side, you'll see as that comes together, I've put my base down, my kind of image that I want to work with, and just roughly outlined the page that I imagine around it. If I was doing this on a page, and in some other examples you'll see, I wouldn't actually fill the entire page. I would leave a white border around the edge, just so that even our framing device is framed on the page. I know it's very ultra, but this is the channel that you this is where you'll find that. Way too many thoughts for no good reasons, but so what I'm doing is exactly what I did before. I'm just coloring in every other stripe, giving it that beach towel look, and then we're going to come back in and put in our little motifs or patterns in the stripes that I haven't painted. You could do an alternating color scheme. I like the patterning that I can do in the other stripes, because I think that's another way that I can add the bring the background and the foreground together in some kind of cohesive way, or a fun little way. You could put journaling in there if this is something that you want to do in your journals and you want some writing space. You could even use lined paper. I'm just thinking now, the lines would already be down there for you, and you could just color in the alternating lines. I think that would be too neat for me. I don't want it to be too neat, because I like the kind of organic look to it. I think whenever something looks a bit more rough and a bit more organic, people are much more forgiving when they look at it. And it's just, so I find it a more liberating way to work, because I don't have to worry about getting any kind of perfection down on that page. I'm just going to color in this piece of ephemera because I didn't have one handy, and this was floating around my desk. I thought this suited the theme. Team with the theme, clock the reference. So I'm just, this is like a card. These used to be deluxe coloring cards in my Etsy store, but I haven't done that for a long, long time. Because they were a lot of like manual work beforehand. So I did just stop that for a hot minute. But I've just got this deluxe coloring card in Craft. Craft is such a great tool for people that want to learn about coloring and how to shade, because you've got the mid-tone down already. It already is the Craft color, and so you have to find the places where there are shadows and highlights, and then I would pick a few deep colors for your shadows, a few lighter colors for your highlights, and I think it's a really great way to practice face shading on a craft, because you don't have to worry about putting down a mid-tone, starting it, ruining it. I mean, you've got the craft there already. It's really just a matter of mapping out where you want your shadows to go and where you want your highlights to be. And I think it provides a really nice contrast for a lot of those lighter pastel mediums, like not mediums, but pastel colors of mediums, like pastel pencils, white pencils, pastel crayons. There's a much more vibrant contrast on craft and toned paper than there is when you're working off of a colored in piece of white paper. So this is what I'm talking about. In the alternating stripes and the alternating lines, you want to put your patterns. I've gone very simple for this one, even kind of traced around my ephemera piece so I didn't have to bother with all the extra. And just gone really, really simple patterns. Stripes, dots, crosses, zigzags, stitching lines, little flowers in the little corners, but I mean, they don't really look like flowers, but that's what I was going for. And then I'm just going to stick it down right in the middle there. That's just it. That's its place for being, for no particular reason. But I think it is an effective way just to give something a reason for being there. You know what I mean? Like give it a frame, give it a background, give it a nice a little place to live in your journal. Like I said, this is a very simple background idea. It is one of a billion framing techniques that you could probably use to make something seem less floating in the middle of your page. But I wanted to give you something, because I don't think I've ever dived into this before, and I think it is something that I struggle with. So if I'm struggling with it, there must be someone else out there that struggles with it. And this is something that I think was a quick fix for me once I had kind of been inspired to try it. And I never really shared it. And it's been in my journal for ages and ages and ages. And I've always thought, oh, I'll get around to doing that one day. So I thought a nice Christmas version would be good. This is what I'm doing if there was already something down on the page. I know I've already colored it in with the background, but you could have this whole image down on that page and do the same thing around it. And I think, let yourself be a little bit messy is my kind of advice for you. You'll have a lot more fun. The difference with it being on the page already is I would kind of go around it with, since this is all done in lead pencil, I would go around it with the graphite and just kind of bolden up that line so that it really does kind of stand out on it. You don't have to do that. I have an example at the end where where I don't have that bold outline, but I like the bold outline. I think it's if you're going to have something right in the middle of your page, it might as well be bold. But I would do that if it was a colored piece. I might try to pull the colors in the background maybe towards that. I might choose contrasting colors. It's really all up to you. And the patterning in this one, I've kind of tried to be a little more Christmassy with it, since I'm going with that elven waif antler creature in the forest woods theme. What am I talking about? I'm going for something Christmassy. So I've given you some little Merry Christmas down the bottom, a little sentiment. I've given you little trees, a gingham pattern, not a gingham, plaid. You know why I think gingham? Because it's light blue. It reminds me of Dorothy. And I'm also giving you some Uniball Signo white highlights, some snowflakes in the corner. That's the word I was looking for. Here are some examples of other ones that I've done just to show you that it does kind of work for bunches of different things. I like using watercolor because I think that gives its own really interesting and unique texture, but please feel free to take this idea and do whatever you will with it. It doesn't have to be a rectangle that you frame it in. It could be a lovely little circle. It could be a diamond, a star, any kind of... I would keep it a really simple geometric shape, if I'm honest, because it might get away from you if it's a little too difficult, but I just like it. Super fun and simple idea that came from the look of someone laying on a beach towel, striped beach towel. So that's what you never know where inspiration's going to strike. I hope this does help you if you're looking for a fun little background technique. I know we didn't really focus on much of anything, too important today, like shading or coloring or drawing or illustrating, like nothing that interesting. It is just a background tutorial, but sometimes I think these are just as beneficial as having, a tutorial about how to draw hair or how to draw eyes, because it really helps with the full, complete look of something in your journal. So hope that helps. Have a wonderful day. Until my next video, Merry Christmas. Bye.